Hey, how's it going? A couple of days ago, I had a brief exchange with the jester over the revelation of the real name of the Navy SEAL who wrote the book about the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. And I asked him how come he wasn't mad at Fox News. And he said his response was that he was disappointed with Fox News, but he was angrier with this other website, Cryptocomb, for originally releasing the name. Which, all right, I can get that. You are angry at the first person to do it. But, of course, my counter response was Cryptocomb revealed this information to how many people? Maybe thousands. Fox News revealed it to millions. Okay? Now, and Cryptocomb, of course, chose to reveal the name. I don't know if they were the first one. Jester says they were. I don't know if that's true or not. But, in the past, people have accused me of essentially being Jester's fanboy. And in fact, I'm not. I have aired my differences of opinion with him on video. And he has been kind enough to link in my videos, both of them, where I talk about him. One, airing a difference of opinion, the other, taking his side against someone who had labeled him a criminal. But as far as Cryptocomb and Jester, in some ways they're both right, and in some ways they're both wrong. Now, Jester's ire is directed at Cryptocomb for revealing the name of the Navy SEAL who wrote the book. But in Cryptocomb's defense, I will say this much. Special operations troops are all working under the understanding that they are not to reveal the details of secret missions that they go on, ever, even after they leave service. If the Department of Defense finds out that you reveal details of a secret mission, either book form or magazine or radio, television interview, whatever, the military can come after you for violating your oath to keep your missions secret. That's why they're called secret missions. So a Navy SEAL chose to write a book. Now, he didn't write it under his real name, he wrote it under an alias. But if he wrote it under the alias, assuming that no one will ever find out my real name, then he is probably not the smartest Navy SEAL to ever come out of the training centers. Because once the book was out, or as soon as the book was announced, and it's written under an alias, people will naturally be curious as to what his real name is, and people will begin looking for it until it is found. And we have people examining the writings of authors who've been dead for centuries, trying to figure out who the author was directing his poems to or his plays or whatever. And they sift through all the writings and letters and so forth and so on until they find out who they think the author was referring to. And so if this SEAL believed honestly that his name would never be revealed to the public, then he was severely misguided. And two, my understanding of Special Operations Forces is that they are under oath not to reveal any details of their secret missions. And this oath is binding for the remainder of their lives. And they face harsh punishments from the military for revealing secrets. And he did not put his book through the Department of Defense so they could look through it and make sure that no intelligence secrets were being revealed within its pages. He didn't do that either. So if he is somehow upset that his real name is out there, not only his real name, but where he's from, then it's his own damn fault for writing the book in the first place and not getting clearance from his superiors. These are secret missions, meaning that they're to be kept secret during your lifetime and even in many cases afterwards. Now, people are saying that this SEAL, he's donating proceeds from his book to, I believe it's a Wounded Warrior Project. a very noble cause. And maybe he felt that this, maybe he and his supporters feel that this justifies. After all, how many copies of this book are going to be bought by people around the country, around the world? And all that money going to the Wounded Warrior Project. In response, I would have to say this. We have Special Operations Forces troops, whether Army Special Forces, Rangers, Navy SEALs, and other Special Operations Forces who have been on very important missions for the sake of the national security of this country, who have chosen to keep their oath and keep their mission secret. And these men could certainly have written books about these missions and raised all kinds of money for worthy causes, or even to help themselves. I mean, my father was in the Army, and he knew all kinds of guys who had served with him, men that he knew who came back from the war and sometime later fell on hard economic times. And these men could have earned some money to help themselves out and their families, but all they would have had to do was break their oath. And they didn't do that. Now, there are some people who did capitalize on their fame as Special Forces or Navy SEALs. Bo Greitz comes to mind. Jesse Ventura is another one. But these men did not reveal details of secret missions that they had been on during the Vietnam War. Okay. So all these men who served on missions vital for this nation's security kept their oath and forsook whatever personal wealth they could have attained or any money they could have raised for some worthy cause for the sake of keeping their oath and, of course, keeping themselves out of federal prison. Now, Cryptocomb, for whatever reason, chose to reveal the SEAL's name. In one sense, the SEAL was asking for it. All right, you got to be honest. On the other hand, you don't necessarily have to reveal every single little thing. There are certain things that our nation does secretly which have disastrous effects, not only in other countries, but here at home, that harm our nation's security. Things that we do and have done that have had decidedly negative effects, many of which we are still living with the repercussions of today, such as coups in foreign countries, such as Chile and Guatemala and Iran and all these other places. Things that our nation did secretly, which had disastrous effects in the nations where they happened, but also for us today. But I don't see the personal value in revealing this SEAL's name, aside from giving him a little poke in the eye. It's like, oh, see, violating our nation's security, huh? Poke in the eye for you. Here's your real name and where you live. There's a difference between legitimate whistleblowing and revealing secrets just for the sake of revealing secrets. Now on to Jester. I can understand your anger at Cryptocomb for revealing the name of a Navy SEAL. But as said, he did put himself in the position to be outed publicly. What I don't see from you, Jester, is the slightest amount of anger over the outing of CIA operative Valerie Plame. She was outed by Robert Novak because of information given to him from Bush administration, to people like Armitage and Karl Rove and others. These people outed her status as a CIA operative just out of spite. And she was involved in some vital missions for this nation's security, as was her husband. And the Central Intelligence Agency, on behalf of the United States government, gave Valerie Plame a great deal of training and paid for her education at universities for her to earn master's degrees, which couldn't have been inexpensive. All that money that was spent training and educating her is down the toilet. All of her contacts, all of her personal networks of spies compromised. All the good for this country that could have come from her work. Wasted. So, Jester, where is your anger at those people? I see none. And your use of the word disappointment. You're disappointed in Fox News. What the hell is that supposed to mean? As I said before, Cryptocomb revealed this SEAL's identity to, what, maybe thousands? The website barely even shows up on Alexa ratings. Fox News has an audience of millions. And if Fox News story shows up on their website that says real name of Navy SEAL revealed, you know that people just out of curiosity are going to want to click on that link just to know the guy's name. All right. So don't give me any of this disappoint at Fox News bullshit. And we know it's bullshit. You know, Jester, you can do whatever you want. I'm not saying you should go out there and DOS Karl Rove or Armitage or any of these other people. I'm saying you haven't said a word of condemnation against any of the people who outed Valerie Plame. Now, this is a free country, and you can be a hypocrite if you want. Okay? But, you know, don't paint yourself as the shining knight in armor, that you're going out there and fighting this nation's enemies on the internet. You deliberately pick and choose. If a liberal reveals sensitive government information, you condemn them and DOS them for endangering American military assets. But if a conservative, such as Fox News, or the people who outed Valerie Plame, do the exact same thing, not a word from you. All right, so there it is. Cryptocomb, I reveal the guy's name just for the sake of doing it. All right, I will grant that he did put himself in the position, but that didn't mean that you had to go and pull the trigger. Jester, you're right to be angry that they did that, although your anger is only limited to people of a particular political persuasion and not to those who share yours. All right, so people who want to accuse me of being a fanboy of Jester or being a harsh critic, and it just goes back and forth. Some people accuse me of being a blind fan, and other people accuse me of being a blind critic. I'm neither. I just see things how I see things. My father was in the Army. He was involved in missions for this country's security during the war in Southeast Asia. Many things that he did and things that happened to him, he will never be able to tell me or anyone else. He probably could have made some serious money if he had written a book. And my brother has been asking him, why don't you write a book, Dad? Why don't you write a book? You could make all kinds of money. And Dad just was like, no, because he took the oath. He is under orders, binding for the remainder of his life to not reveal what happened. Some years ago, my father took a trip to Thailand. And this is shortly after we normalized relations with Vietnam. And he went to Thailand. And I asked him, you know, hey, Dad, you want to go to, you're going to go to Vietnam too? You know, there's all these Vietnam veterans going over there and building schools and whatever. And he said, no, I'm not going to Vietnam. And I asked him, well, why not? And he said, well, if I go to Vietnam and the Vietnamese government finds out who I am, they will arrest me or something. I will not come back. And I said, well, and I knew that he'd been in the Army Special Forces. And I said, well, you know, maybe sometime I can go down to Southeast Asia. Maybe I'll go to Vietnam and I'll take some pictures for you. And he said, no, you shouldn't do that either, in the event that they find out you're my son. So neither my father nor I can go to Vietnam ever for our entire lives, and I don't have the slightest idea why. But he said that it would be an extremely bad idea for either me or him or any of my brothers and sisters to go to Vietnam during our lifetimes. And, you know, I just take it at face value. I just say, okay, whatever you say. I can go to Thailand if I want to. I could even maybe someday go to Cambodia. But Laos and Vietnam are definitely off the list. I have no clue why. And that's fine. I won't pry into it because it's none of my business. Okay. So anyway, I just thought I'd air that. You guys take care.